But they had some receipts on Kevin Stefanski, and they damn sure for to make his time in Atlanta a very, very tough one because he cannot escape what he has done to Shedeur Sanders. I ain't lying.
Career in this business, it's sometimes you have to navigate tough times, and I certainly have seen my tough times, and I feel like I'm a better coach on the other side of that.
Were you surprised by Mayfield's comments about you coming to Atlanta and looking forward to seeing you twice a year?
Welcome to the most uncomfortable press conference of the 2026 NFL coaching carousel. Kevin Stefanski walked into Atlanta thinking he'd get a hero's welcome. Two-time coach of the year, offensive mastermind, the man who was supposed to turn the Falcons around after 8 straight losing seasons. Instead, he got absolutely grilled.
Previous seasons really won't affect how we coach this football team.
Kevin Stefanski spent 6 years in Cleveland. 6 years. And you know what he has to show for it? 2 winning seasons, 2 playoff appearances, 0 playoff wins after that magical 2020 run with Baker Mayfield. And now he's in Atlanta, standing at a podium, trying to convince everyone that this time it'll be different. This time he knows what he's doing. This time he can develop a quarterback. The problem? Atlanta's reporters weren't buying it, not for a second.
I think there were a lot of fans that were concerned about the way things ended for you in Cleveland.
I would tell you, I've learned from all of my seasons in this football, in this game of football. The fans in this...
Man, that was Kevin Stefanski, y'all.
They came prepared. They had the receipts, they had the statistics, they had the Baker Mayfield tweets. They had everything. And Stefanski? He looked like he wanted to be anywhere else in the world.
Joining a team that has 8 straight losing seasons and a franchise that is hungry for playoffs and the Super Bowl. So what makes you believe that you were the right guy for the job and can not only do that, but do it very quickly?
Thanks, Allison. I'm here because I believe in this group. I believe in this roster. I believe, like I mentioned, in what Arthur and Matt have put together already.
That's it? That's all you got? No specifics, no concrete plan, no acknowledgement of the disaster he just left in Cleveland? Just, I believe in this group. Brother, we've heard that before. Every failed coach says the same thing. I believe. We're building something special. The future is bright. And then they go 5-12. But here's where it gets really interesting, because the reporters weren't done, not even close. The next question was the one that made Stefanski's blood run cold. The question about quarterback development. The question about Shedeur Sanders.
So much has been made of your time in Cleveland. With your relationship with the quarterbacks that you've had, obviously you're going to be charged with developing a young quarterback here in Atlanta. How do you go about making sure that Michael Penix and his success here are long-term?
Player development I'm a maniac about it. I'm just crazy about development of our players. We want to be a very intentional group when it comes to developing players. Obviously, the quarterback position's at the forefront of that. So,
Kevin Stefanski had 2 rookie quarterbacks on his roster in 2024, Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. 2 first-round picks, 2 guys who are supposed to be the future of the franchise. And what did Stefanski do? He buried Shedeur Sanders. For months, Shedeur couldn't even get a practice jersey. You know what that means? That means he couldn't take real reps. He couldn't participate in team drills properly. He was basically treated like a spectator at his own team's practice. Meanwhile, Dillon Gabriel got all the first-team reps, all the attention, all the development time. Now look, I'm not here to say Dillon Gabriel is a bad quarterback. He's talented. He deserved his shot. But the way Stefanski handled Shedeur, that was inexcusable. This is a player who comes with unprecedented hype, the son of NFL legend Deion Sanders, a guy who dominated at Colorado, a guy who has an entire fan base that follows him wherever he goes. And Stefanski's strategy was to ignore him, to marginalize him, to pretend he didn't exist? That's not coaching, that's mismanagement. So when the Atlanta reporter asked Stefanski about quarterback development, about how he plans to work with Michael Penix Jr., you could feel the subtext dripping from every word.
Player development I'm a maniac about it. I'm just crazy about development of our players. We want to be a very intentional group when it comes to developing players. Obviously, the quarterback position's at the forefront of that. So,
a maniac about player development? Stefanski, my guy, You had Shedeur Sanders sitting on the bench without a practice jersey for months. You cycled through 13 different starting quarterbacks in 6 years. 13! That's not being a maniac about development, that's being a maniac about chaos. But wait, it gets even worse for Stefanski, because while he's trying to sell Atlanta on his quarterback whisperer credentials, Baker Mayfield is on Twitter absolutely destroying him. A reporter from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution wrote an article calling Stefanski's Cleveland tenure a dumpster fire in quarterback, and specifically mentioned Baker Mayfield and Deshaun Watson as failed quarterbacks. Baker's response?
So Baker retweeted that one. Failed is quite the reach, pal. And he's upset with D. Orlando Ledbetter and fired in Stefanski's direction, saying he's still waiting on a call text from him after I got shipped off like a piece of garbage. Can't wait to see you twice a year, coach.
Boom! Baker Mayfield just put Stefanski on blast. And the best part? He's 100% right. Stefanski never reached out to Baker after the Browns traded him. Never called, never texted, never gave him the professional courtesy of a, "Hey man, this wasn't my decision, but I appreciate everything you did here." Nothing. And now Baker's in Tampa, in the NFC South, playing against Stefanski's Falcons twice a year. You think Baker's gonna forget this? You think he's not gonna be absolutely hunting every time the Bucs play Atlanta? This is personal now. And Stefanski created this situation entirely by himself. Here's the part that's going to haunt Stefanski forever. Shedeur Sanders is going to be great in this league. Maybe not immediately, maybe not in his first year, but that kid has too much talent, too much work ethic, and too much chip on his shoulder to fail. And when Shedeur starts balling out for whatever team he ends up with long term, everyone is going to look back at his rookie season in Cleveland and ask one simple question. How did Kevin Stefanski waste an entire year of this kid's development? The Pro Bowl selection was controversial, sure. Shedeur was an alternate who got in because other guys declined. But you know what? He made the Pro Bowl as a rookie, despite barely playing for most of the season, despite not getting a practice jersey for months. Imagine what he could have done with actual coaching, with actual support, with a head coach who believed in him from day one.
Instead, Stefanski chose to play politics, chose to favor one rookie over another, chose to create a divided locker room where Shedeur's fans were constantly questioning why their guy wasn't playing. And now he's in Atlanta, trying to convince everyone he's changed. Arthur Blank is betting $30 million or whatever massive contract they gave Stefanski that he can turn this franchise around, that he learned from his mistakes in Cleveland, that he's a better coach now than he was 6 months ago. Maybe he's right. Maybe Stefanski really did grow from the experience. Maybe having to navigate the Deshaun Watson disaster and the dual rookie quarterback situation taught him valuable lessons about communication, development, and roster management. Or maybe, and I think this is more likely, Stefanski is the same coach he's always been. Good at game planning, good at scheming, terrible at the human elements of coaching, terrible at managing personalities, terrible at developing young quarterbacks. The Atlanta reporters clearly think it's the latter. You could hear it in their questions, the skepticism, the doubt, the "we've heard this before" tone. And honestly, they're probably right to be skeptical. Kevin Stefanski walked into his Atlanta introductory press conference expecting a fresh start, a chance to talk about the future, about Michael Penix, about building a winner. Instead, he got confronted with his past, with the Baker Mayfield situation, with the Shedeur Sanders disaster, with 6 years of mediocrity in Cleveland. And he had no good answers, just generic coach speak about believing in the roster and being a maniac about player development. The same tired phrases every struggling coach uses when they're trying to convince people they've changed. But here's the truth. People don't change that much. Coaches don't suddenly develop new skills overnight. If you spent 6 years proving you can't develop a quarterback, getting a new job in a new city doesn't magically fix that problem. Kevin Stefanski is walking into Atlanta with the weight of the Shedeur Sanders situation hanging over his head like a dark cloud. Every time Michael Penix struggles, people are going to ask, is this the Shedeur Sanders situation all over again?
Every time Kirk Cousins starts a game, people are going to question Stefanski's decision-making. And when Shedeur Sanders inevitably breaks out and becomes a star, whether it's in Cleveland or somewhere else, Stefanski is going to have to live with the fact that he had first crack at developing that talent and completely blew it. The Atlanta reporters saw right through him today. They asked the hard questions, they demanded answers, and Stefanski came up short. This is going to be a long tenure in Atlanta if he can't figure out how to actually develop a young quarterback. Because unlike Cleveland, where the dysfunction came from ownership, the expectations in Atlanta are clear. Win, develop Michael Penix, make the playoffs, don't waste another generational talent. Can Kevin Stefanski do it? Based on what we saw today, based on his track record, based on the Shedeur Sanders disaster, I have my doubts, and so do the Atlanta reporters who just absolutely grilled him in that press conference. The honeymoon phase is over before it even began. Now Stefanski has to actually prove he can do what he says he can do. Good luck with that, coach. You're going to need it, because the receipts are out there. The questions have been asked, and the entire football world is watching to see if you're actually different or if you're just the same coach who wasted a year of Shedeur Sanders' career. Time will tell, but if I'm a betting man, I'm taking the under on Stefanski's Atlanta tenure, way under. This thing has disaster written all over it, and the Atlanta reporters just made sure everyone knows it.